Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the following question. How can human activity contaminate the land? Lesson objective. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe how human activity can contaminate land. Today, you will learn about how human activity can lead to land contamination. Before you read, name 3 facts you know about how human activity can contaminate land. Write 2 questions you have about how human activity can contaminate land. And finally, write an analogy about how human activity can contaminate land. So right now I will generate 3 facts that I know how human activity can contaminate land. So first, I know that mining and fracking for natural resources can lead to land contamination. Sometimes mining accidents happen, and sometimes fracking accidents happen. There's a lot of fracking happening in um, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and the nearby states. And the result of fracking, uh, sometimes it pollutes the groundwater that people drink. And when they turn on the faucet, the water smells like natural gas and sometimes even contains small amounts of natural gas that can even ignite, which is very unfortunate. Next, I know that military testing sites can contaminate land for many years. In the past, the military had to test nuclear weapons, and when a nuclear weapon is detonated, releases a lot of radiation. It contaminates the land. So there are many sites like that. Sometimes they test weapons under the ground as well. Sometimes they test weapons under the ocean. So there's definitely a lot of contamination happening from um, um, those testing sites. And finally, I know that accidental disasters at nuclear plants can lead to land contamination. One of the most famous nuclear disasters happened in 1986 in Chernobyl, but a more recent one happened in Japan because of a tsunami. So there are definitely some intentional and unintentional causes for land contamination. Now, generate 2 questions about how human activity can contaminate land. Well, generating questions. How do I ask good questions? Good questions start with who, what, where, when, why, and how. Brainstorm a list of at least 12 questions about the topic. Here are some question starts to help you generate good thought-provoking questions. Why? What are the reasons? What if? What is the purpose of? How would it be different if? Suppose that. What if we knew? And what would change if? Try to use one of these question starts to create your thought-provoking questions. The first question that I want to find out is how would a land survey prevent land contamination? I know land surveys are very important, and whenever there's a new construction project, a new building being built, there's always a person surveying the land. So I wonder how that could prevent land contamination. And finally, what can farmers do to keep the soil healthy? So I know that farmers, when they farm, when they grow the same crop, that depletes the nutrients from the soil, and sometimes the soil will become dead and unable to produce any more um, crops. So I want to know what farmers can do to keep the soil healthy. And finally, I'm going to write an analogy about how human activity can contaminate land. Animals dig the ground to build shelters, while humans dig the ground to extract natural resources and contaminate the land. Independent work. Living off the land, some animals make their homes above ground, in trees, in grasslands, in rocks, and even in the walls of buildings. Some rabbits, earthworms, chipmunks, ants, moles, and many other animals dig burrows in the ground for shelter. Burrows keep animals safe from predators. One way or another, animals depend on land for shelter. Interactions with non-living elements of land, including rocks, soil, minerals, and nutrients, are essential for growing food and providing shelter for living things to survive. What will happen if the turtle burrow were filled in and buildings were put in its place? People use land for important activities. People must be careful about how they use the land. If they do not use care when building, farming, mining, or using land in other ways, they can cause damage. Damaged land is not easy to fix. Damaged land may be dangerous for people or other living things. Building. Before people build on land, a survey should be done. A survey is when land is observed, measured, and mapped. In a land survey, the living and non-living things are identified and evaluated. Special technology helps people survey the surface of the land. It is a good idea to find out what is under the ground, too. Devices such as radar and lasers can help people find out what is located underground. It is never a good idea to build on land without doing a survey first. Protected animals or sensitive plants may live on the land. These animals must be relocated, or a new building site must be chosen. The ground below may contain a cave. If so, building a new structure above a cave would not be sturdy and may collapse over time. This stand has tools needed to do a land survey. The surveyor can use the tools to measure the size and height of the land. She can also find out what is underground using the tools on the stand. She may take photos of the land and any living things on it. Farming. Farmers depend on land to grow crops and raise animals. People and animals depend on these crops for food. Over many years, farmers have learned ways to take care of the land they depend on. As plants grow in soil, they absorb nutrients needed for growth. If farmers grow the same type of crop in the same field over time, the field will no longer contain the nutrients that type of crop needs. However, crop rotation fixes this problem. When plants that need different types of nutrients are grown in a field, in turns, the nutrients do not get used up and soil still stays healthy. Pulling up a crop means the roots are no longer there to hold the soil in place. No-till farming fixes this problem. Farmers harvest the needed part of the plant and leave the rest in the soil. This helps keep the soil in place. Also, nutrients are added to the soil as roots break down. You can see where the previous harvested crops were left to hold down the soil. The new crops are planted around them. In this illustration, we could see a green line of new plants and the yellow lines of previous crops. After reading, so right now I'm going to generate 3 new facts that I gained from my reading. First, the text states that a land survey is important because it may prevent land contamination. 2. The text states that crop rotation helps replenish the soil with necessary nutrients. And 3. The text states that no-till farming helps prevent soil erosion by keeping it in place. Now, were you able to find answers to the 2 questions you asked earlier? Let's find out if I was able to answer my questions. How would a land survey prevent land contamination, and what can farmers do to keep soil healthy? Well, the answer to my first question is on this slide. If they do not use care when building, farming, mining, or using land in other ways, they can cause damage. Damaged land is not easy to fix. Damaged land may be dangerous for people and other living things. Before people build on land, a survey should be done. The text states that a land survey identifies and evaluates living and non-living things. If a land survey is not used, it may lead to a damaged land, which is not easy to fix. My second question was, what can farmers do to keep the soil healthy? This slide tells me that crop rotation fixes this problem. When plants that need different types of nutrients are grown in a field in turns, the nutrients do not get used up and soil stays healthy. I'm going to add that to my second answer. And finally, I'm going to write a new analogy after my reading. A land survey is like a medical physical exam. It assesses risks and prevents disasters. Thanks for watching. See you next time.